Did you ever do that, Mr. Chairman?
We're seeking documents from a private individual who, I might add, tried to destroy the evidence.
So I guess the question is, I guess the answer is no.
Since 2 days ago. The answer is no. The answer is since 2 days ago, I'm not asking the question about since 2 days ago, although nothing. That's when they first raised the concern.
Nothing prevented you from writing a letter within the last 2 days or reaching out to the White House before this.
Now you want me to be clairvoyant and read the White House's mind and write a letter before they tell us something?
Nothing prevented you from seeking these materials from the White House.
Is known for
months, Mr. Chairman. For months.
I'm not a mind reader.
And I thank you for making a very clean record for any court that will look at this.
The gentleman from North Carolina said
accommodation
months ago the White House could have raised the concern, and they didn't.
These documents, because your first move, of course, is to go right to contempt. Ironically, of course, for a chairman who was in contempt of his own subpoena.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
We're still waiting for you to testify and meet the obligations of your own subpoena, Mr. Chairman.
Hello, Patriots. Welcome back to Signal 76, your source for unfiltered truth. Today, we're unpacking an intense confrontation in the House Judiciary Committee that puts the spotlight on the real power struggles shaping Washington. This clash between Chairman Jim Jordan and Representative Adam Schiff isn't just political drama. It's a revealing moment about how Congress operates behind closed doors and how constitutional oversight is either upheld or eroded. But before we dig in, subscribe, like, and comment below if you believe in holding the government accountable. This hearing affects you, and by the end of this breakdown, you'll understand exactly how.
Gentleman from California withdraws point of order who seeks recognition. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, much as I don't like certain parts of the Mazur decision, it clearly applies in this case, and the committee is required to engage with the White House in order to seek an accommodation over materials held by a private party, as they were in the Mazur's case, and seek to resolve this with the White House. So I would ask unanimous consent that we enter into the record your correspondence to the White House.
Objection.
Seeking to engage them to resolve this. And I thank the chairman for not objecting. Can you produce that correspondence to the White House asking for accommodation on these materials you've sought by this subpoena?
First time they reached out to us was 2 days ago.
Yes, and of course the author expressed the concern that these materials may implicate interests of the executive. I think that was weeks ago. But having admitted without dissent your correspondence to the White House, can you produce that for us where you have sought an accommodation, where you've sought to work this out with the White House? Can you share that with us since that is now part of the record?
Well, I thought you had it. You wanted to enter into the record.
I do. I presume that knowing your responsibilities, you have sought to engage the White House. So,
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Produce the
recognized for point of order.
I think a unanimous consent request to submit something to the record is where the person who's asking for the floor is the proponent of submitting information that member has. I don't believe it's appropriate to ask a unanimous consent request to engage in a colloquy over discovering information or obtaining information from another member of the committee.
Great, and that's why I said that no objection to the unanimous consent request. If the gentleman from California wants to talk about that and present it to us, God bless him. He's allowed to do it. Takes 5 minutes.
I would like clarification from the chairman. Does this mean that there is no correspondence from you to the White House seeking accommodation on this material?
We've had all kinds of correspondence with the White House on this broad subject. Relative to the Zwanitzer and the letter we got 2 days ago, we've not corresponded with the White House yet. And we will, we may. That's a decision we'll make.
And you have not corresponded with the White House seeking accommodation ever since the author who you are subpoenaing and seeking to hold in contempt articulated the view that there was executive interest and potential privilege over this material. You haven't sought to engage over the weeks since you received that communication?
We have not engaged with the White House since the letter on the 25th of this month, 2 days ago.
And prior to that time, did you engage the White House in an effort to obtain
all kinds of engagements with our counsel and counsel?
I'm talking about
the Justice Department and White House with our counsel over the last several months relative to the special counsel.
This subpoena, Mr. Chairman, did you engage with the White House at any time in the last several weeks since issuing this subpoena, the one you want to hold this witness in contempt for? Did you ever engage with the White House in an effort to accommodate, an effort to reach an agreement, an effort to prevent this from having to be litigated? Did you ever write any correspondence, make any call to the White House seeking to engage, seeking to get these materials that you're seeking from the author instead from the White House. Did you ever do that, Mr. Chairman?
We're seeking documents from a private individual who I might add tried to destroy the evidence.
I guess the question is, I guess the answer is no.
Since 2 days ago.
The answer is no.
The answer is since 2 days ago, I'm not
asking the question about since 2 days ago, although nothing.
That's when they first raised the concern.
Nothing prevented you from writing a letter within the last 2 days or reaching out to the White House before this.
Now you want me to be clairvoyant and read the White House's mind and write a letter before they tell us something?
Nothing prevented you from seeking these materials.
The gentleman from California is known for
months, Mr. Chairman. For months.
I'm not a mind reader.
I thank you for making a very clean record for any court that will look at this.
The gentleman from North Carolina said
accommodation
months ago the White House could have raised the concern, and they didn't.
These documents, because your first move, of course, is to go right to contempt. Ironically, of course, for a chairman who was in contempt of his own subpoena.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
We're still waiting for you to testify and meet the obligations of your own subpoena, Mr. Chairman. But nevertheless, I appreciate you're making such a clean record for any court in this case that you have never sought an accommodation, never written to the White House, never called the White House, never had a communication with the White House in order to obtain these materials as part of an accommodation. Thank you for that very clean record for the court, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Who seeks recognition?
The fireworks in this Judiciary Committee markup weren't just for show. This was a serious procedural showdown over the limits of congressional oversight and the power dynamics between Congress and the executive branch. Jim Jordan, leading the committee, faced aggressive questioning from Adam Schiff about whether the committee followed proper legal steps in pursuing a subpoena. The center of this confrontation is the Mazars decision, a legal precedent that says Congress must seek accommodations with the executive branch before demanding documents from private entities, especially when executive privilege might be involved. Schiff argues the committee didn't follow this rule. Schiff drilled Jordan on whether his committee had reached out to the White House to resolve the dispute before moving to contempt proceedings. Jordan admitted outreach happened, but only 2 days before the hearing. That's where the issue gets hot. Jordan insisted he couldn't anticipate the White House's objections before they were raised, stating he's not clairvoyant. This isn't just a quip, it's a reflection of growing frustration over what many conservatives view as weaponized bureaucracy. Jordan's stance is clear. Congress shouldn't be paralyzed by endless procedural roadblocks while trying to conduct oversight. Schiff, meanwhile, focused on 3 goals. Building a record of procedural missteps for potential court cases. Highlighting legal vulnerabilities in the committee's approach. Emphasizing the need for rigorous, step-by-step oversight before aggressive legal measures like contempt are pursued. Things turned personal when Schiff brought up Jordan's own past with subpoenas, introducing a layer of political irony. It's a reminder that these hearings are shaped as much by partisan history as they are by policy. This debate reveals 2 very different philosophies on how Congress should operate. Jordan prioritizes swift action and efficient access to information. Schiff argues for methodical process and respect for institutional protocol. Neither side is wrong in principle, but the stakes are high. Why does this matter to you? Because every precedent set here impacts how future investigations into issues like federal spending, agency corruption, and executive overreach will be conducted. If Congress loses its power to act decisively, or acts too rashly, either scenario could weaken our constitutional system. The idea of maintaining a clean record, mentioned repeatedly by Schiff, isn't just legal jargon. It's about preparing for inevitable court battles, where judges will evaluate whether congressional committees followed proper procedures and showed good faith in negotiations with the executive branch. This isn't just a spat over one subpoena. This is a litmus test for how congressional power will be exercised going forward, especially when dealing with private individuals rather than government agencies. That distinction matters because citizens have different legal protections, and if those aren't respected, Congress could lose credibility and authority. Looking ahead, this confrontation will shape how both parties handle subpoenas, executive privilege, and document requests. Schiff's insistence on accommodations will likely become a standard challenge to Republican-led investigations. Jordan's approach, if upheld, could pave the way for more aggressive oversight with fewer procedural delays. At its core, this isn't just a procedural debate. It's a constitutional battleground. Congressional oversight is one of the most powerful tools available to keep the executive branch in check. But with power comes responsibility. Congress must wield that authority carefully, or risk losing the public's trust. As Americans, we must stay alert. These hearings may seem distant, but they directly impact how our government functions. If oversight is weakened, corruption thrives. If procedures are abused, justice suffers. That's why understanding this debate isn't optional. It's essential for any citizen who values transparency and accountability. This is what we do at Signal 76. Not just report what happened, but show you why it matters. If you appreciate this kind of analysis, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a beat. Drop a comment. Do you think Congress should focus on formal processes, or do you side with fast action when stonewalled? Your opinion counts. And if you found this video insightful, share it with fellow patriots who care about the future of congressional power and oversight. Thanks for watching Signal 76. Stay sharp, stay engaged, and I'll see you in the next video where we continue cutting through the noise and exposing the truth behind the political headlines.